Am I the a-hole for saying that if my parents have another baby, I want nothing to do with it? I know the title sounds bad, but hear me out. I, 17 female, have had a rocky relationship with my parents since my siblings, 10 male, 7 male, 3 female, 9 months male, were born. I was an accident baby when my parents were teenagers, and they have told me in arguments that I ruined their lives. However, this is not what the post is about. My parents are notorious workaholics and constantly accuse one another of cheating. It's stressful for everyone in the house, young ones included. All of my siblings have had paternity tests. Because they work so often though, it means I'm often left, for sometimes 48 hours, to care for my siblings alone. This has gotten so bad that the 9-month-old and 3-year-old sometimes cries for me instead of our actual mother. I cook for them, make sure they get to school on time, and do their homework. I clean and play with them. The 10-year-old invites me to his football games, and I don't get time to do anything for myself. Well, last week me and my parents were arguing again. They want another baby to bring them closer together. I was furious and straight up told them that they didn't look after the kids they already had, and I just end up having to look after another one. I told them that if they have another baby, I want nothing to do with it, and they will be all on their own. They called me an a-hole and said I was trying to ruin their marriage and their careers. I spoke to Grandma about it, and while she sympathizes with my situation, she says I should be supportive of my parents trying to fix their marriage. She told me it was my duty as the oldest sibling to care for my younger ones, and I was being kind of an a-hole and should apologize to my parents, but I still don't think I am. So, am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for wanting to tell my stepdaughter's dad about the cameras my wife planted in his house while he was away? I, male 34, got married to my wife Claire 2 years ago. She has a 6-year-old daughter, my stepdaughter, that she shares custody of with her ex-husband Adam. So Adam has not dated anyone ever since he and Claire got separated. Claire always talked about how this was a good thing, because she believes that my stepdaughter is better off without a witch stepmom to boss her around and mistreat her. Then Adam started seeing his now girlfriend about 8 months ago. Claire wasn't happy about it. In fact, she was livid that Adam introduced my stepdaughter to his girlfriend so soon. Claire demanded meetings with Adam's girlfriend to test and see what kind of stepmom she will be for my stepdaughter. I didn't give it much attention because of the drama and always having mother-in-law involved as well. However, I very recently found out that Claire installed several cameras in Adam's house while he and his girlfriend were away on a trip. Claire had a key to Adam's house because most of my stepdaughter's stuff is there. Keep in mind that I found out by looking at the chat Claire had with mother-in-law, so she was in on it too. It irked me because that is a total breach of privacy. But when I confronted Claire, she said she did this because Adam's girlfriend was going to move in soon, and she wanted to see how she treats my stepdaughter. I told her this was wrong, but she said it was all temporary till Adam's girlfriend is in the clear. I still wasn't convinced and suggested she remove the cameras because of the huge legal troubles once Adam finds out. But she lost her temper on me, saying I should stay out of it, because I clearly don't care about my stepdaughter's well-being and happiness. But then she had no evidence or even reason to believe Adam's girlfriend might mistreat my stepdaughter. Claire said she just wants to double-check and Adam does not need to know. But I disagreed and said that I will tell him if she won't remove the cameras, which made her lose it on me and get mother-in-law to shut me down and get me to stay in my lane. But I couldn't. Claire said if I tell Adam, then we're gonna have a problem, and urged me to mind my own business because Adam isn't more important than my relationship with her. So I shouldn't even entertain the idea of telling him and upsetting Claire, who is just trying to make sure her daughter's future stepmom isn't some witch stepmom in the making. I still want to tell him, but given Claire's reaction, I'm going to get hell for this, and it may not be worth it, since me and Adam aren't on good terms.
I, 21 male, have an older brother Dave, fake name, that has always been a jerk to me. There's only a 1-year gap between us, but he liked to beat me up when we were kids, and he always acted like anything that was mine was also his. He was also somewhat the golden child, which made me miserable, so no surprise I moved out at 18. My uncle is a now retired police officer, and he took me in after I left home. He even hooked me up with a decommissioned Crown Victoria, and I absolutely love that car. I don't know why, but Dave hated the fact that I had that car. He drove 3 beater cars into the ground while my Crown Vic kept chugging along. Well, after his 3rd beater finally died when he drove it into a pole, he asked to borrow my car. I had a bad feeling and said I wasn't gonna do that. He called me entitled and said he needed a car to get to work. I told him to take the bus because I know how he drives and my Crown Vic was off limits. My parents called me after that and told me to just lend him my car, but I said I won't no matter what they say. I rely on the car and need it as well since it's my personal transportation. Dave wasn't the only one in the world with a job he needed to get to. My uncle congratulated me for standing up to them and gave me a high five. A few days later when I got off work, the car wasn't where I parked it. I called my brother Sel, but he didn't pick up. Then I called my parents and asked them if he took my car. They denied it, so I said I was gonna call the cops, and then they admitted he had borrowed it because he needed it. I told them he better bring it back right now or I'll have police looking for him. They called me a jerk and then phoned Dave to bring my car back. He showed back up in the parking lot in my car 20 minutes later. I demanded to know how he stole my car, and he held up a set of police Crown Victoria keys he'd bought online. Some were made universal. I told him if he ever stole my car again, I'd have him arrested. Then he had the audacity to ask for a ride home. I told him he made me wait in the December cold after stealing my car so he could walk. He called me a jackass before I drove away. After that, my uncle installed a tracking device in the car. When Christmas Day came, I was celebrating with family like every year. The roads were cold and icy, so I had to be very careful while driving. By now you've probably clued in on the title. Yeah, Dave borrowed my car again during the Christmas party. Apparently, he decided he was gonna go pick up a friend and figured I wouldn't notice, but I did when I looked out the front window and saw my car was missing. I pulled up the tracking app and saw he was a few miles away, then called his cell to yell at him. Everyone in the party saw this and asked what was going on. I said Dave stole my car again, and my uncle confirmed it wasn't the first time. Dave told me over the phone to screw off and that he'd be back soon. I said he better not have been drinking, but he just hung up on me. Well, while I was watching the tracker app, the dots stopped and didn't move for a while. Soon we got a panicked call from Dave asking for help. He'd crashed the car because he couldn't handle the icy roads and he wasn't used to a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So, we piled in my parents' minivan and followed the tracker. We found Dave by the road and my Crown Vic nose deep in a snow-filled ditch. My uncle was furious as it was formerly a car of his department, and I was mad as hell at Dave for stealing my car again. My parents wanted me to let it go, but I said enough was enough and was gonna call police. Dave begged me not to because he really had been drinking before he set off and would get a DUI. I said he was gonna pay me back for my damned car then or I'd sue him. Well, as luck would have it, police were already aware of the accident and were driving in to check on the scene. Someone else had called them, I guess. My parents tried to say that I was the one driving the car and they were just there to help me. I said that wasn't true and my uncle backed me up. In fact, one of the cops that was there recognized my uncle and they had a chat. Then they went to Dave and asked to see his license, which I then found out was suspended after he'd crashed his previous car. Then they breath tested him. He wound up with cuffs slapped in his wrists while my mother was crying and begging the police not to take him away. But the officer just said that she and my dad could get arrested too for lying to police. That shut my parents up and we got back in the minivan. The Christmas party was ended early and my parents drove me and my uncle home since he rode with me. They didn't say much to either of us the whole drive and just sped away as soon as we were out of their van. They nearly slipped off the road themselves doing that. My brother was let out of jail the next day, and he looked so scared that he was practically crying. The cops there had roughed him up a bit while talking about prison and the crap they'd seen go on there. Dave had actually pissed himself during that, and they let him take a shower. That's when my uncle started cracking up and revealed to us that his friends in the department never filed a DUI and just the charge for the suspended license, which was about a $600 fine. My uncle said he just wanted to teach Dave a lesson, and this would be the one and only time he'd ever get his help. Dave then apologized to me and said he'd pay to have my Crown Victoria fixed and would never touch it again. When it got pulled out of the ditch, the front end damage was actually minor. It needs a new front bumper, a headlight, and a grille. The damage was just superficial, thankfully. My parents have pretty much glossed over the whole incident and act like it didn't happen. Dave gave me the extra Crown Vic keys he'd bought online and said this has taught him a lesson he won't soon forget.
When did you know it was the last time you'd ever be hanging out with a friend? This was a relatively new friend that I didn't know that well, and they asked me to go out for a drink. So I said yes because it was right down the street. I show up, and not only are they already there, but they were also there with their partner, and you could tell that they had just freshly gotten into a fight. I realized this after I had started to sit down, so there was no bailing out now. Their partner has also just been glugging for a bit. Now this was kind of a fancy bar, so I just ordered the cheapest thing that they had on the menu, and the other two split a bottle of wine. No, I'm not a wine person, but they still poured me a glass. I was like, I'll just do a tasting glass. And they're like, oh my God, no. So they poured me a full glass of their wine. Again, I maybe had one sip of it. So I was not having fun. And I must have been there, I'm not kidding, 25 minutes before someone's like, let's do the bill. So they bring it and my friend is like, oh, so we'll just split it 3 ways, right? And I look, my drink was $6, $7. Their bottle of wine was almost $200. And I am just staring at the full glass of wine that they had poured me that I did not want, never took a sip of, was mortified. So something happens to the partner, they get set off, they like storm out, and my friend follows them out. I lean over the bar and I nearly take the bartender by the collar and I'm like, listen, buddy, I am not friends with these people. I'm never seeing them ever again. No way in hell am I going to split the bill 3 ways with them. We gotta work something out. He goes, I got you, say less. I pay for my drink independently with my card, real quick, we take care of it. I'm off the bill. So the two of them come back and they're like, all right, let's settle this 3 ways. And the bartender goes, oh no, actually, me and her go way back. The manager knows her too. He ended up actually just taking her drink off. So ladies, it's just your wine. And I was like, oh, sorry, my Uber's outside. I really gotta go. So nice to see you. Mind you, I live like 50 feet from the bar. And I storm out and I never saw or talked to either of them ever again. I think my friend ended up texting me like a while later being like, oh my God, miss you. Like, let's do something. Last time was so fun. And I just blocked her number.
I, 16 male, found out my mom, 43 female, had been cheating on my dad, 43 male. I told my dad and took my dad's side, and now mom is a wreck. So yeah, long story short, caught my mom after I was at a friend's house. I was supposed to stay the night, but came home because I forgot something. Dad was working on New Year's, and saw mom kissing a guy on the couch who I knew was a colleague of mom's. I never was the angry type, but I remember just yelling at her and even threw the damn wine bottle she had on the table into the wall and called her all kinds of things. The colleague who I had known since I was a kid tried to calm me down, but I just ran up to my room, locked the door, and called Dad. Dad called my uncle, his big brother, and he came and picked me up and stayed with him until Dad came back. He sometimes has to travel for a couple of days, maybe once or twice every year. I still have not really talked with mom. I just get so angry when I see her, and honestly after the crap I called her, I think she's afraid to even speak to me. Mom just seems like a wreck and Dad is considering divorce, but Dad has agreed to counseling first. I am seeing a shrink before anyone asks, but after going there for almost 6 months now, I still just go home angry and just feel so angry every time I see mom. It's easier to pretend she does not exist at all. Like I said, we hardly talk anymore and I am afraid of saying something even more stupid if I have the conversation. Christmas this year, I quickly finished dinner and had no interest in presents or any of that Christmas stuff. Dad asked me to try to have regular Christmas and I was trying, but sitting at the dinner table with our family pissed, with my uncle putting his hand on my shoulder once in a while to just calm me down. He must have seen how pissed I was, and realized I could explode at any moment, but I remained polite and thanked my grandparents for the presents, but I just said I was tired and went to my room early. It just felt so fake to be sitting there having a normal Christmas with the rest of the family present. The only person who realized just how I felt was my uncle. I don't know what to do, sick of being angry all the time.
Am I the a-hole for leaving everything I own to my goddaughter instead of my daughter? I, 45 female, divorced my ex-husband when my daughter Kelly, 21 female, was around 12, after I caught him cheating for the second time. Literally everyone was against it. And I knew the in-laws wouldn't like it because they're traditional conservatives who didn't want to deal with a public scandal. But it was hurtful to me that my own family was trying to pressure me to stay in the marriage in order to not lose access to the money and perks my ex had provided. Examples. While we were married, my ex helped my brother get a nice job with a high salary and nice benefits, paid off my sister's credit card debts, and bought my parents really lavish gifts. The first time I caught him cheating, I wanted out back then, but my family convinced me to forgive him, and that I owed it to Kelly to fight for her to have the stability of a two-parent household. My daughter was only a few weeks old at a time, and I was in a very vulnerable state. So I agreed and felt so stupid when my ex did it again. But this time there wasn't a "you weren't performing your wifey duties since you got pregnant" excuse anymore. And this time I wasn't going to be deterred and continued with the divorce. In truth, I wanted to keep Kelly out of this as much as possible. But my in-laws and my own parents poisoned her against me by painting me as a hypocrite for telling her how important forgiveness is, but that I wasn't willing to forgive Daddy even when he was really sorry. I was distraught. I honestly don't think I would have made it through if it weren't for my best friend Tina, who was my rock. In the end, I got a nice settlement and some alimony, but didn't get custody. I tried my hardest to still be in Kelly's life, but by the time she was a teen and she was fully convinced that I was the bad guy and told the courts she didn't want to see me anymore, I was heartbroken, but kept reaching out. During that time, I also managed to go back to school. I was studying accounting and managed to get a high-paying job of my own and have a nice life for myself. The same can't be said for my ex, who was sued by a former employee and fired by his company. Because he was so embarrassed, my ex burned through his savings trying to keep up his lifestyle, which included Kelly's college fund. Suddenly, she wanted contact again. And I won't lie and say that I wasn't hurt at the idea of her only wanting contact was for my money. I'd agreed to pay for her to go to grad school on the condition that she signed an agreement that she won't contest my will where I'm leaving most of that I owned to Tina's daughter, Laura, 18 female. The few relatives that I'm still on good terms with think that this will damage any chance at rebuilding a relationship with Kelly, and that I should just split everything equally. However, I don't want to have the type of relationship with Kelly that I feel like I have to pay for. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for refusing to do a DNA test? My dad found out my mom was cheating, and she won't say with who or when. But we know it's likely around the time she was on a stay-at-home mother. The thing is, she had all of us, 2 brothers, 1 sister, around the same time. So any of us could not be my father's. He's divorcing my mother and wants us to take a DNA test to prove we're his children. Otherwise, he isn't paying for our college. He promised to do so before this, and all of us have been counting on it. My sister, oldest, did a test because she was confident she was related to our dad. She was likely pre-cheating. She looks the most like him, so I was pretty sure she was. She's also in college and is relying on our dad. It is going to keep paying because of the results of the paternity test came back positive. I have a feeling I'm not my dad's biological kid, since I don't look anything like him. And people even commented I don't look like the rest of my family. I'm terrified because I think he's upset enough that he won't talk to me anymore, and definitely won't be paying for my college. I don't want to take the paternity test because I don't want to know. But if I don't, I probably won't get college paid for. The money isn't in a college fund, but set aside as investments my dad has. It isn't going to my mom in the divorce proceedings probably. I don't know how things will go, and I'm starting college in September. I stupidly picked a pretty expensive school because I thought my dad would pay for it. I decided it was okay. But now, even if my mom was willing to, I don't think she can afford it. I'm so mad at her and my dad for putting me in this position. I've told him I'm not doing the test and he said that's okay, but he will just assume I'm not his and not have anything else to do with me once since I'm 18 already. I'm living with my mom but not talking to her because of this. Am I the a-hole for saying my parents should have stopped having kids when they started realizing they're all autistic? So I'm 16 female, I'm the oldest of 8, and the youngest 6 have a combination of autism and oppositional defiance disorder. If you have ADHD, and 4 out of the 6 are nonverbal with high support needs, I'm expected to help out. I have pretty much been emotionally neglected since age 6, when my parents started popping out more kids. So, due to everyone's sensory issues and for the sake of routine, Christmas hasn't been done in our house since I was 8, and that includes for me. Birthdays aren't really done either, and my parents spend so much time trying to keep everyone under control that myself and my normal brother 7 male miss out on just about everything. Last Saturday was my birthday and I stupidly decided to ask my parents for something I've been wanting for a while. But I don't get an allowance and can't work due to helping out at home, so I can't save for it. It's not expensive, but it is out of my price range. They said no, expectedly, and reminded me for routine's sake we don't do birthdays in this family. I said I know, but maybe we could keep it to the 3 of us and do something away from them for once. They said no, and that I need to tailor my life to suit theirs, unfortunately. I kind of snapped. It may be years of built-up resentment or because I was in a bad mood, but I said that I don't understand why they keep having kids just to make their neurotypical kids suffer more each time. They should have stopped after they had 2 diagnosed with autism. Neither parent is talking to me right now, and I'm starting to believe I was the a-hole and made an ableist remark. Am I the a-hole?
Nobody can take the pain away. Everything is falling down, so I'm running from this place. Nobody can save me now. Nobody can take the pain away. Everything is falling
guys, thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.